Hi, Carol. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me.
First question, obviously, we're in a very challenging economic climate across the board, both for restaurants and for lodging. Um, how do you see this kind of current economic climate for the restaurant and lodging organizations that you deal with on a daily basis?
It's almost indescribable, Bob. It has been something that I still am struggling wrapping my head around. We are the largest employer of people in the state with we were with over 1.5 million employees, and over 930,000 were laid off or furloughed. So we're back now, of course, to some level, but we still predict that we have over 500,000 hospitality workers still unemployed.
Mm.
Our businesses are, a lot of them are just hanging it up. They just can't go any longer. I mean, look at South Florida. We just get them finally open, and then the governor does go ahead and open bars as well on Monday, and they closed them by county ordinance by Monday afternoon. So these companies are struggling, and partially why our unemployment's 11.3. We were enjoying some really highs, and then March hit, and I don't think any of us ever could have expected that it would be this low.
Well, and now we have the prospect of a government-imposed required minimum wage of $15 an
Right.
hour. It's Amendment 2 for those who will be listening and watching this interview. Obviously, you all are very concerned about it. The James Madison Institute is very concerned about it. But let's give our viewers and our listeners some perspective. It's
Okay.
already happened in California. It's already happened in Washington State.
Exactly.
So there is a record out there, right? What
There is.
many businesses have seen. What happens when you impose a required $15 minimum wage in the restaurant and lodging world?
Yeah. Well, and Bob, thanks for asking that. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the restaurant and lodging, but this is so much bigger than us. I mean, it's construction, farming, petroleum. There's almost not an industry out there. People who think right now, I'm already paying $15 an hour, it really doesn't matter to me. Okay, great. So what about the person that you are paying $15 an hour to, or maybe 14? They're thinking, I'm so close, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
And that person's been with you 10 years. And then you bring in a young, just out of high school kid that's going to make the exact same amount of money. What do you think that happens? The trickle down effect, so many people who are blinded by the fact that they think, oh, I already pay it, it's no big deal. Well, buckle your seatbelt, because it's going to become a big deal as soon as the wage suppression hits you, and you have to start upping everybody. With that said, obviously in this industry, it was a bad idea before COVID. It's catastrophic now after COVID.
Right.
Our industry is on life support. You'd almost have to be living under a rock if you didn't know that the hotel and restaurant industry has taken it on the chin, probably more than any other industry out there.
Sure.
And yet, ironically, we're the economic engine of the state. So why do you want to kick a gift horse in the mouth? The goal should be to get us back up on our feet, not treat us like whack-a-mole and knock us down every time we try to stand up. And that's really where we're going to be. It's a 75% increase in our payroll. So you can do the math. I've got an example, it's funny. I have all these great charts, like if I don't even know if you can see them, but I have these charts that show, this one shows that an average restaurant, just average, 25 employees, let's say, and that's not a huge restaurant.
Right.
If you have 25 employees and you do your hours, that would be an average of about 12,000 hours per quarter. So if you just think about the 12,000 hours, and then if you run the payroll on today, 2020, your payroll per quarter on that's running about $75,000. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes. Yeah.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay. So that's today with a quarterly payroll with an average of 25 employees. Now let's go to the column where the $15 minimum wage goes into effect. Your payroll goes up to $158,136 per quarter. Of course, don't forget you've got your workers' comp and payroll. So it's an increase of $85,000 in a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a small independent operator.
Right.
You roll that out for the year, and Bob, it's $340,000 increase in your payroll in year one. So most people can do the math. We have a calculator on our website. You can go in and literally log in number of employees, number of hours, and the calculator will do the work for you. I have a board member who did this recently and he called me and he goes, Carol, he owns a couple of restaurants. He's not a big franchisee.
Right.
It's $700,000 to him, one restaurant first year. And he said, that's more than my profit. Like, I can't, there's no way.
Right.
So it's truly going to hurt the people that they think it's intended to help. And that's what's scary, is that the people who walk into the booth and they see what looks like this great idea to vote ourselves in $15 an hour minimum wage, most likely many of them are going to be voting themselves out of a job.
Tell me the website again so people can go and check it out.
Okay, it's amendment to hurtsyou.com. I'll show you how it's spelled, because it's amendment 2 as in the letter 2.
Yep.
hurtsyou.com.
hurtsyou.com. What's interesting too, I think, Carol, is that we see in Washington and California where the imposed $15 minimum wage is.
Right.
Businesses are moving outside of that range.
They're leaving.
That's
right.
They're literally moving, one foot on the line, so to speak, so that they can, create and grow a business.
That's right. So we have a couple of great spokespeople from Seattle that have lived it. And when you talk to somebody who's lived it, it's heartbreaking. Simone is a professional server. She's been serving for over 30 years. She's raised a family. She has children. She loves her flexible hours. She makes a very good income, and it passed. So the first restaurant she had worked for over a decade closed. Then the second one closed. Then her third one closed. So they're folding because they can't make ends meet. And I have a member here in Florida that's holding 7 locations for expansion. He was going to start development. He told me the other day that he's waiting until after November, because if it passes, he's pulling out of the state. He said, I got to go to a more friendly state. I can't make ends meet anymore in Florida. Florida, like one of the most business friendly states in the country. And we're about to be the only state in the country that would have ever passed this.
Yeah.
Where everywhere else it's passed, it's been by city or municipality.
Yeah.
We'll be the first state in the country. Sad.
I want to talk about the whole aspect of tip staff, because I think that's hard to understand. But before we get to that, this whole idea of a living wage, right?
Right.
You think that the $15 minimum wage is somehow going to feed a family of 4 and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
You and I both know that the minimum wage is not, the lead salary person in a home. $15 minimum wage, people move in and out of that constantly. Can you talk a little bit for our listeners and our viewers what that actually happens there? Sure,
Bob. Minimum wage, it was never intended to be a living wage. Minimum wage is intended to be a training wage, an entry level wage. Look, I'm like a classic example. I grew up in Winter Park, Orlando. I lost my father at a very young age. My mom had a tough time making ends meet. So at a teenager, I had the fortune, my mom knew some hoteliers in Orlando. So I learned to be a desk clerk, minimum wage. Went to FSU, put myself through college, waiting tables on minimum wage. I don't make minimum wage, obviously, today. I mean, thank goodness, but it's where I got my start and learned the industry, learned the trade. Actually, I didn't make minimum wage even back then because I was waiting tables hard. And I was, making I made good money. But it's not intended for anybody to go get a mortgage or, it's a training wage. And we're proud of ourselves for that. We think that if you can keep it that way, because what we're about to do is take what would be an entry-level training wage for a lot of youth and eliminate it. I mean, who's going to want to pay a 16-year-old that scoops ice cream after school at the ice cream parlor what calculates to $30,000 a year,
right,
plus benefits? So what are the options, right? I mean, the options are they as things are today, at least they have a job that is a training level job, but then the options are going to be you either close, like many in Seattle, Chicago, San Francisco have done, or you get creative. And the creativeness comes in the form of what we all know. Remember when you used to get your gas pumped and now it's all self-service? Remember when you used to go to the grocery store and there was never a self-service lane? Now at Walmart and Costco, there's more and more and more self-service lanes coming up. Well, guess what? The kiosk in McDonald's is not an accident.
right.
So here's just an example. If you look over here, this is in New York City after they passed minimum wage. Can you see all the iPads?
Yep.
It is a sea of iPads. That's a restaurant, a very large restaurant. There was not a server anywhere. You sit down, you put everything through the iPad. And so I've tried to tell people, you think you're voting yourself in a pay raise, and literally you could be turning yourself into an iPad.
Right.
So don't. Why would Florida want to adopt these liberal, devastating policies that other liberal states have done, and it's not worked?
Right.
And it's not working in their state. You can guarantee it won't work here.
And now there's so many people in those other states that are trying to walk it back because it
Yeah.
has been
Oh, yeah.
for business.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, let's talk about something that's a little more arcane for the uninitiated,
Okay.
for people who really want to know this issue. Tip staff. Okay, tip staff do not make minimum wage.
Correct.
Right. Talk about, Carol, how that affect the required minimum wage that is on the ballot. How does that affect tip staff? And what does that mean to Main Street Floridians who may not fully understand the restaurant and lodging business?
Okay, not to get too deep in the weeds here, but you have a very, very brilliant, if I may, listening audience, and I think a lot of your people will really grasp this. But again, it can get a bit technical.
Sure.
So Florida is a state that still has a tip credit, and our tip credit is $3.02. It's frozen by the Constitution, and this ballot amendment keeps it frozen. So if you own a restaurant or a hotel, your tipped staff make minimum wage minus the $3.02 that you as an owner get as a credit because they make tips.
Right.
So right now with Florida's minimum wage at $8.56, forgive me with my little slides, but I think it makes it easier to see them because these are what I use in my presentations.
Sure.
I just don't know if you can see them.
Yes.
So you can see here that at $8.56, it's $5.54 that we pay the hourly staff, right?
Right.
So go down to the bottom where we're now at $15, it's $11.98. It's $12 an hour that we're going to be paying, because you pay 12, almost 12, 11.98, plus you still get your tip credit. So we're going from paying $5.54 an hour to $11.98. That's a 75% increase in your pay. So what's going to happen? We talked about automation. Automation is one avenue that some will go, some will keep their doors open.
Right.
But a lot of restaurants in Seattle, Chicago, places where this has happened, have gone to eliminating tips completely and have gone to a service fee. The service fee does not go to the staff. Here's how it works. Congratulations, employee. You wanted $15 an hour, you're going to get $15 an hour. And that's it. No tips, no nothing. We're going to put a service fee on our invoices. The consumer pays the service fee, so you still get to pay this ridiculous tax,
Right.
but it goes to the restaurant owner. We have asked thousands, not hundreds, thousands of servers, how do you feel about that model? 100% hate it. And that is where we've been able to explain to the server why you don't like it. As soon as they hear, wait, so I'm not going to make, I'll go from making $5.54 an hour to $15 an hour, but I don't get any tips. Forget it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, because they're making far more. I mean, you've got servers in some places of Florida that make over 6 digits.
Right.
I was at Burn's Steakhouse on Friday, and I know, I mean, my server, I asked him, he's been there 28 years. You don't stay in a job 28 years if you're making minimum wage.
Right.
No, they make very good money.
That is very compelling. So I just want to highlight that. So what you've seen in other states that went to the $15 minimum wage, they basically told their employees, great, you can have your $15 minimum wage, but that's all you get. And then to reduce their costs, they're charging a service fee on top of whatever you spend at the restaurant.
That's correct.
That is so compelling.
It is. And it's a model that doesn't work.
No.
They cannot keep their staff. One of the restaurants that Simone in Seattle, they tried it and they closed their doors. They could not make it work. The staff didn't want to work. They went from, in some cases, I mean, even an average of $20 to $25 an hour on maybe a slow day. I mean, think about it. You eat out. Most people tip between 15 and 20%. It only takes a couple of tables, and you've already, with the base of what you're making from the restaurant plus a couple of tables tips, you're likely to already be close to $15 to $20 an hour.
Right.
And then in some cases, you're way over that, $50 to $60 an hour. So you're going to give that up for, and it takes also, which is sad, because I can remember as a server, obviously, I was in FSU. I was, it was a little bit of a game to see how hard I could work, how I could memorize a whole table at 12, without even writing anything down, working on that tip, because I was so, driven.
Right.
You take the drive away. Like, I think now about, if I'm going to make the same amount of money, I'm losing. It's just human nature. You don't want to think that people are like that, but it's human nature. You take away that drive to be the best that you can be.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, incentives matter. And in this case, the incentive is removed for, the employee to do his or her best. That's a great point.
Right.
You've talked about, obviously, automation. We've talked about kind of where that would go with something like this. Job growth. Do you have any statistics, any analysis on what that would mean for job growth or the lack thereof in the state of Florida if Amendment 2 were to pass?
It's a job killer. There's no job growth, none, and it's proven. So it's a job killer.
Right.
If we're enjoying unemployment at 11.3%, then, you know, again, stand by, because it's probably not going to get much better. I mean, this industry, our state is built on tourism. You know, when you put, and this is true in life no matter what it is. I mean, I always try to look at my own personal things. Like if you put all your eggs in one basket, like build anything based on one commodity, you always have to be very aware that when that commodity stumbles and falls or skins its knee, everybody suffers. And we built our state over decades now of priding ourselves on 850 miles of the most beautiful beaches in the world, some of the greatest attractions anywhere in the world, like hiking and lakes and boating and skiing and all of the wonderful things, not to mention that we have year-round good weather. Mm-hmm. So we built it on that. And man, when that engine's running, you know, there's nothing better than, you know, the engine of watching our state, by the way, not have a state income tax, right? Like we don't have one. Why? Because, you know, you got $112 billion coming in annually from the tourism industry, right, with, again, 1.5 million people employed. And all of a sudden that rug gets yanked out from under you. You know that our state right now is billions down. I mean, Amy Baker did the economic study the other day. I mean, we're billions down in revenue. Yep. How are we going to build it back? Right. And this amendment is certainly going to impede our state's ability to build it back. And that's what's sad. I just wish everybody had the crystal ball and could see what will happen if it passes.
Yeah. To learn more, give us that website again, Carol, just so people can go there and visit. Okay.
It's amendment to the letter, number 2. Yeah. Number 2, hurtsyou.com. Amendment to hurtsyou.com. That's great. And you can also go to the FRLA, Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association.org website, and we have a link to all of the Amendment 2 issues as well.
Great. And our listeners and viewers can also go to jamesmadison.org to get our amendment guide and analysis on Amendment 2 and all the other amendments.
Right. And I just want to thank you and your team. In addition to everything you're doing, you know, we've got 2 economic studies that have been put out, one by Tax Watch, one by a group, another DC group. Both of them talk about how catastrophic this will be economically to Florida. You all are the ones that are so great at taking all of this information and pushing it out and making sure that your viewers know. And thank you, because I've always had the utmost respect for you, Bob, and what the James Madison Institute stands for. And there's a lot of things that we can't do in Florida without you. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Carol. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Bob.